All right, welcome back. I obviously just couldn't help myself. I already kind of gave away the run.sh. So for those of you who are on a Mac OS system, you will be able to run this command. For those of you who are on Windows machines, I really apologize. I'm sure at some point in the near future I will have a version of this for Windows. I actually don't own a Windows machine, so um, I'll kind of have to work through testing that out. But what run.sh does is it goes through and creates a whole bunch of tabs for you. For those of you who are on a Windows machine, you basically can do this manually, and we've already looked at this run.sh file. Let's kind of look more now at, and we'll pull that file back up, but let's look at those tabs and understand really what each one of those tabs is doing and give you kind of a real world example of how those things are working. So I'm in my project, my project, which is called my project, which we created with Flask new and then the name of the project, which we just called my project. And what I want to do, I CD'd into that folder. I want to run run.sh. So when I do this, a whole bunch of things happen on your machine all at once. One is opening VS Code. Another is opening the website. And here I've actually changed things from hello world to hello world tomorrow. We'll see how I did that. And let's go back to the terminal. I want to go through each one of these tabs slowly and make sure you understand what each one is doing. This is running fswatch. So what this is doing is this is watching for file changes in your project, and it is reloading the browser of Chrome anytime that happens. Let me show you that in um, in the real world. So let's keep the terminal open so you can actually see this in the terminal. We'll do this kind of twice. So we'll keep the terminal open. We'll see over here, and then we'll see new things happening. And then over here, we'll keep VS Code open. Okay, so here's run.sh, and we'll start at the beginning. And then let's go to, let's close everything out. Let's go to the file that says hello world, and that's under app, templates, main, index.html. So it originally for you said hello world. I was doing a test before this, and now it says hello world tomorrow. Let's get it back to hello world, and we will save. When I save, you're going to notice something happen over in this screen. So it detects that change. And so anytime you make a change to files in certain folders, and the folder list is here, one of which includes templates, then it will detect that change over here and it will reload the browser. It will run this refresh Chrome. If you want to remove one of these folders because it's refreshing too frequently for you, by all means remove it here. You have complete control over that. But then when you remove it there, you'll need to remove it. It's really this fs watch that is what you need to remove from. You could keep it here and just remove it here, and then it would stop watching. If you want to add one, then just you can add it in straight here, or you can do what I've done and make a like a global variable type thing and then add it in here. So that's what the first tab is doing. Let's see, I mean, that's cool, but let's actually see that in the browser. I keeps saying it's going to make a change in the browser for you. So let's pull up the browser. We'll split the screen. And this way, you can do nice video tutorials where you have the browser open over here. You say, hello world today. You save it, and then over here, boom, today pops in. You didn't have to refresh it. If I want tomorrow, save it, hands off. Didn't come over here and refresh by magic. It just did it. And it's doing it. I have 2 of these open, and so it's doing it on every single tab that you have open. So if you have 2 open, you probably just want the one. All right, so that's the first tab. So that is less magical now, the first tab. Let's look at the second tab. The second tab is a really fun place. So in the second tab, what we did is we cd'd into the project, and then we ran source bin activate, and on a Windows machine that's slightly different, but we opened up our, instantiated our virtual environment, and then we ran Flask shell. The virtual environment was needed for Flask shell. And so this is your place where you have access to all your web apps stuff. So users is in here. It knows what users is. And you don't have to import users because of the way we set up your create app. We brought in the model in there. And so if you go back here, you'll actually see that. So if you look under the init, we have from app import models. If you want to redo that in your terminal, you can, but you don't need to. It's already there for you, which means all the models, like we have a model called users. Let's actually go to that. Otherwise, it's just magical. So model users. So users is a class, and it has a username, password hash, created at, updated at, and then some properties. It also has store in database, delete from database, and then some login stuff. But if we go to our table plus, which I've talked about in prior videos, here's the user model. There is no data. If you look at the structure, you see that username is not nullable, but password is. So we'll create a user with a username, and we'll store it in the database. We can do that in the shell. So I'll create a user, I'll call the variable user, and then I'll create the user, which is using the user class. I already have access to this in the shell. And then I need to give it a username. So I'll give the instance of the username, we'll say Drew. All right, and then we will press enter. Now, if I go back to my table plus and I refresh it, you're going to say, Drew, you're lying to me. What happened here? Where is the user? You just made it in the terminal. I saw you. It's right there. If I even type in user, I see that it says, ooh, this is cool, ID none, which means it doesn't have an ID, which means it hasn't been saved to the database, which is where this comes in. User.store in database. Press return. And this is not a normal Flask thing. This is coming shipped with that user model. And anytime you create a model, it's going to come shipped with a store in database, delete from database. But now, if I type in user, I'm going to say, oh, look, user ID is 1. And if we come over here, we refresh, we see that user right there. So that's just the terminal is a really fun way of playing around with the data in your app and then just testing things out in general. You can test out code here. before you put it into your application. So that's what the Flask shell is. I love this part of Flask. The third tab is actually running your web application. So this is, if you look here, we did a Flask run DB. First we CD'd into the project, and then we ran source bin activate, different on a Windows machine, but we activated our virtual environment, and then we ran Flask run minus debug. And so that gives us a kind of watcher here. And if we look and we go and we come back to the web application, put that over here. And if we refresh the page, we're going to see a new request. So every time I refresh the page, I'm getting the server is requesting more content. Okay, so let's go back and see what else is going on here. Now, the next two tabs are really not that exciting. They're extremely helpful. So the next two tabs are rebuilding or building your CSS files, your Tailwind CSS files. If you want to learn more about that, you can just go over to Tailwind's website. Let me show you how that's set up. What you're doing is you're seeding into the project, and then you're running npm run. So npm is a JavaScript thing. Run watch CSS, and then over here you're doing npm run build CSS. So the build is building a minified version, and then the watch is building a CSS file that you could read if you needed to. So let's go in and see. Oh, that's what I want to this. Okay. So you see that here in these two right here. That's what these two are setting up in the run.sh. And let's just show you what those are doing in here. So I set this up for you. By all means, change this. If you don't want them both to be watchers, you just want the minified just to build the one time, then you can remove that watch from here. I have it basically building your minify on every single change. So yeah, that's just how I work, but by all means, you can change these. And if you want to read more about this, just head over to tailwind.css. There's a ton of stuff to learn there. If you're new to web development, it's a great place to start building out really cool looking web applications. I'm focused purely on the data structures here in Flask-Commands, but I want to provide you with a way to make your website look good in the event that you want to do that, which you should. All right, and then the last one is actually opening up VS Code. So it just went to the project, and then it ran code dot, which code dot does is opens up VS Code. That doesn't happen for everybody automatically. You have to actually set that up. And I showed you how to set that up here. So let's go back. Okay. So talked about the hot reloading, talked about where the files are, the fswatch, and then I just wanted to show you this. This is how you set up that code dot to run. You open up VS Code in general. Doesn't have to be in this project, can be in any other project. Press on a Mac, you press Command-Shift-P to open up the command prompt palette. So, and then you type in shell command install. Let's see what comes up. Let's see what comes up with shell command. So we'll go to VS Code, Command Shift P, shell command, and that's the one that comes up. Install code command in path. And when you do that, then you can close down your terminal and reopen a new one. And any new terminal, anytime you type in code dot, it's going to open VS Code and have the folder already set up for you. So that's that. All right. We'll talk about in the next video how to run Flask-Commands in your new project. There's a little catch. So we'll see you in the next video.